How does it feel to be useless, son? My mom laughed in front of the whole family. I looked at her calmly and replied, "It feels great. Especially since I just stopped paying your rent." Her face went pale. My dad nearly choked and shouted, "Rent? What rent? How does it feel to be useless, son?" That's how my mom started dinner. It wasn't a question, it was a pronouncement delivered with a laugh that felt more like a cut. And the way she and my sister Jenna laughed at that table, it still echoes in my head. They thought it was hilarious. They thought I was a joke. But the thing is, they stopped laughing real quick when they saw what I was putting in my suitcase that night. What happened next? Well, let me tell you. My name's Scott. I'm 32 years old. I'm the oldest kid. I'm a security guard. My world is night shifts and lobbies that smell like lemon cleaner and old carpet. I know every camera code, every stairwell echo, every coffee machine that squeals like it's dying its final pathetic death. I rent a small one-bedroom near the freeway, a quiet place just for me. I iron my shirts on Sunday nights, neatly folding them, finding a small comfort in the order. I keep my boots by the door, polished and ready for the next shift. I'm the guy they call when the elevator gets stuck at 3 a.m. The calm, steady voice. The one who knows how to handle a situation. I'm also the guy my family calls when the lights at their place start flickering, when a car's brakes squeal, when something came up. I don't drink much. I count tipsy people for a living, so I've seen enough to know it's not for me. I carry a pocket notebook and a cheap pen. On page 1, in neat small letters, I wrote boundaries. Underneath it, for 3 long years, I wrote absolutely nothing. Just blank space. It was a Sunday evening. Early dinner at my parents' apartment. The air was thick with the smell of fried chicken grease, a familiar cloying scent. The football game was on low on the TV. A dull roar in the background. My sister Jenna was scrolling through her phone, her thumb a blur, letting out those fake, brittle laughs at something on TikTok that no one else could hear. My dad was on the recliner, perfectly content, a belly laugh loaded and ready for any joke about kids these days, a favorite target. I had brought a pie from the supermarket. Pumpkin because my mom always says it's festive, even when it's nowhere near a holiday. I set it down on the counter, went to wash my hands, and asked where the plates were. Normal. Quiet. Familiar. My world. Then Mom looked up, and her gaze hit me with that look. You know the one. The one she uses when she's feeling brave, when she has an audience, when she's about to deliver a carefully rehearsed barb. Her chin tilted up, her smile too wide, too bright like a mask. "How does it feel to be useless, son?" she said. And then she laughed. A warm, genuine laugh, as if it were the funniest, most endearing joke she'd ever made. My fork, which I just picked up, tapped the plate. Clink, clink. Jenna smirked without looking up from her phone. My dad chuckled, a low rumble from the recliner. "He's sensitive," he added, a warning to the table, a label he'd stuck on me since I was a kid. I swallowed. Hard. The fridge hummed, a low mechanical drone. A neighbor's bass thudded through the thin wall, a rhythmic vibration. I could feel the old familiar pulse in my neck, that combination of heat and ice, shame and fury. Mom leaned in, her eyes glinting. "I'm asking. You don't come around. You don't help with family plans. You're always tired. Being a security guard isn't hard." She said security guard, the way people say part-time magician, with a dismissive wave of her hand. Jenna finally looked up from her phone, her eyes bright with malice. "It's giving mall cop," she said, delivering the line like she was on some reality TV show. I lifted my water glass. Shook. I hate when it shakes. My hands are steady at 4 a.m., even when I'm facing down trespassers or calming a panicked tourist. But here at this table, surrounded by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, they vibrated like I was holding a live wire. Dad cleared his throat, a nervous little cough. "Your sister's planning a trip," he offered, a weak attempt to redirect. "We all chip in. Family does that, you know." Mom stabbed a piece of chicken with her fork, her eyes fixed on me. "We've carried you long enough," she said, still smiling, her voice sweet as poison. "Time to carry us for once." I stared at the pie. My pie. Store sticker still on the lid. 2 for $8. The dumbest detail in the world. And it stuck to my brain like gum. I heard myself say very softly, "Okay." I didn't argue. Not yet. I didn't pull out numbers or texts or the creased receipts in my wallet, evidence of all the times I'd covered their bills. I didn't mention the last 5 rent transfers, the ones I'd carefully labeled utility, so Dad wouldn't get weird. I just sat there while Mom laughed and Dad shook his head and Jenna typed, and I let the moment hang. It felt like the air before a storm, the kind that flattens things, the kind that washes a street clean. Dad grabbed his beer and coughed. "Useless," he repeated, a teasing rumble in his chest. I looked at Mom. I looked at my own trembling hands. It feels great, I said in a voice I barely recognized, a voice that was calm, clear, utterly devoid of the emotion I was feeling. And then I went back to my pie, taking a bite as if nothing had happened at all. I didn't explain. Not there. Not in that room. Not yet. I started working the night I turned 19. First job was a grocery store lot attendant. Reflective vest, sunburned neck, hot asphalt. The manager liked me because I took extra shifts and never asked to go home early. Work now, rest later, Dad used to say. Only later kept moving. Security came next. Hospitals at first, drunks and shouting families and a lot of waiting. Then high-rises, a nice lobby, marble floors. A fountain that made me need the bathroom every hour. Precisely on the hour. The pay was steady. The night differential helped. I told myself I liked quiet. Felt like control. Mom liked it for about a year. Then she started saying things like, when are you going to get a real badge? Dad called it guarding couches. Jenna called it cosplay. I pretended I didn't hear. I pretended the words didn't cut. Money was always the topic. Not openly, of course. We're not an honest family that way. It showed up as hints. Your sister's car? It's making that noise again. The landlord, he's picky about the due date. We'd come visit, but gas is crazy. I learned to translate. Noise means brakes. Due date means rent. Gas means cash. I sent money in quiet little lines. $120 here, $300 there. Another $60 for groceries. I told myself it was temporary. I wrote boundaries on page 1 of my notebook and kept flipping to page 2, writing nothing. Jenna is 26, an influencer in theory, a barista in practice. She buys things that arrive in pastel boxes and films unboxing videos that get 12 likes. She's funny. She's also allergic to bills. When I asked her once about paying Mom back for the phone plan, she just shrugged. I bring vibes. Dad stopped working after his back surgery. He refuses desk jobs. I'm not sitting in some office like a prisoner, he'd scoff. Mom does part-time at a florist, mostly for the photos, the Instagram perfect life she curates. They're not cruel people, not truly. They just believe the universe owes them a cushion, a soft landing, and I'm the nearest couch. The easiest mark. The last year turned rough. Rent hikes and their building added amenity fees for a gym nobody used. Mom cried on the phone the first time they got an eviction notice. I took my overtime money and wired it before my own rent cleared. I told my landlord I submitted late by accident. He charged me $50. I told myself 50 was just a number. What's a number to a son? Everything. It was everything. Every holiday turned into a ledger. Christmas. I bought their tree, their gifts, their dinner. Dad posted a photo with a caption, "Family is everything." I liked it. Then I lay awake counting the hours I'd traded for those ornaments, for that fleeting moment of their happiness. When I tried to set a limit, Mom switched to guilt like a practice pianist changing keys. Remember who fed you when you had braces? Scott, you think we had it easy? You'll understand when you have kids. Jenna added her own script. I'm the baby. Babies need help. I kept paying. And every time I did, the story they told got louder. Scott is stable. Scott doesn't need anything. Scott will figure it out. So, when I missed a shift because of a fever and lost the overtime slot to another guard, I told nobody. I ate rice for 4 days so the week would still add up. Small things piled up like snow, crushing me slowly. Dad borrowed my car for an errand and brought it back on empty, a casual disregard for my time, my money. Mom used my Amazon account and forgot to change the address. So I drove across town to fetch bath towels and a ring light she'd bought for Jenna. Jenna posted a story from a nail salon with the caption #selfcare. She tagged me with a heart. And then texted, Mom says you'll cover it. There was a family group chat called Fam Jam. It was mostly memes, chain prayers, and requests. Every request got a dog pile of pressure. Scott, be a good son. Scott, don't be dramatic. Scott, stop acting like a stranger. I tried to be honest once. I typed, I can't keep doing this. And watch the 3 dots dance. Mom replied, we didn't raise you to be selfish. Dad added a thumbs down emoji. Jenna sent a selfie with fake tears. At work I was the calm one. At 2 a.m. when a drunk man pounded the desk and demanded to see a tenant who didn't live there, I was ice. Sir, I need you to step back. At home my heart sprinted when the doorbell rang. The first real crack came in July. Mom called whispering, which means she wanted me to feel like I was part of a secret mission. Don't tell your father, she said. We're short this month. Just this once. It was never once. I sent $900. She sent a heart and a photo of a casserole like it was part of the receipt. 2 weeks later, Dad announced he was hosting a barbecue for family morale. He asked me to pick up ribs. Ribs became ribs and charcoal and soda and a tablecloth and ice. At the end of the night, I carried the trash out while they debated whether it was time to replace their TV. Jenna said, "Scott's got a Costco card." When I asked Mom why the rent kept coming due early, she said the landlord changed systems. I believed it because believing is easier than fighting. Then there was the accidental credit card thing. Jenna asked to borrow my card to hold a concert ticket because hers was being weird. I posted for $240 and then $84 and then $19.99 every month for a streaming service I don't use. When I confronted her, she said, "I was going to cancel. Chill." She never did. I did, after paying for months. I kept notes not to weaponize but to stay sane. Date, amount, reason. August $300 parking tickets. There were 2. September $150. Jenna's books. She isn't in school. October $200. Mom's prescription. It was a facial. Each line made me feel less like a son and more like a debit machine that sometimes laughs at Dad's jokes. At Thanksgiving, Dad toasted the provider. Everyone clapped. He nodded at me but didn't look at me. I took a bite of dried turkey and tasted metal. In December, the building where I work changed vendors. New uniforms, new rules. New supervisor who thinks clipboards are a personality. My hours shifted later. I got home at 7 a.m. and slept until afternoon. Mom called at noon every day. "You're hard to reach," she said, like my sleep was a problem she had to solve, an inconvenience to her. The eviction notice in January wasn't a whisper. It was a red stamp on white paper, stark and undeniable. Mom sent a photo in the group chat with 9 crying emojis and the line, "We can't do this alone." I looked at my bank app and felt the floor tilt. I had the money. Barely. My rent was due in 5 days. If I covered theirs, I'd be late again. My landlord had already warned me a second late payment would mean a fee I couldn't shrug off. I stared at the number. I thought of Dad's laugh and Jenna's painted nails and Mom's casseroles. I thought of my boots by the door waiting for me. I sent it. That night, I ate cereal with water because I'd run out of milk. I stood at my sink chewing something that tasted like cardboard in regret, and promised myself this was the last time. I wrote "no more" in my notebook under boundaries. And then I closed the book because the words looked silly next to my choices. Empty promises to myself. 2 weeks later, Mom invited me to Sunday dinner. "Family time," she said with sparkles around the words, her voice chirpy. I brought the pie. I washed my hands. I sat down. And she laughed, her eyes glinting, and asked, "How does it feel to be useless, son?" The room tilted again, only this time it didn't knock me over. It just made me see the picture from a different angle. Every joke had a bill attached. Every memory had a price tag. And they were presenting me the tab with a smile. My tab. My life. I didn't flip the table. I didn't give a speech. I ate pie. I looked calm, but something inside me finally stood up. I was done. I didn't plan the confrontation. Not really. I planned the facts. Monday night, 2:10 a.m. I printed bank statements at the lobby printer. The hum of the machine a soundtrack to my quiet resolve. Line after line with their names in the notes. I took photos of the red-stamped eviction. I screenshotted the text where Mom wrote, "Just this once," and the one from Jenna that said, "You're dramatic, but thanks." I slid them into a cheap folder with a cracked spine. Evidence. Not for the court, not for their judgment, but for my own shaking hands. For my own sanity. Wednesday. Dad's birthday dinner. Same apartment, more noise. Pizza boxes on the counter. A Bluetooth speaker playing classic rock. Too loud. A new 55-inch TV on the wall, dominating the room. I stared at it. Like it. Dad said, puffed up, proud. Got a deal. I looked at Mom. She looked at the TV like it had fallen from heaven. Jenna took a selfie with the screen behind her and captioned it, #FamilyVibes. We sang. Dad made a speech about loyalty. He always does. Then Mom turned to me. In front of everyone. 2 aunts, 1 uncle, a couple cousins who only show up for food, for the spectacle. "Scott, say something nice. Your father thinks you're mad at us." I opened the folder. My hands didn't shake. Not this time. I put the first page on the table. February 3rd, $1,200, rent. Next page. March 4th, $900, rent. Next. April 2nd, $850, rent. I slid the photos of the red-stamped eviction notice across the table like a dealer with a bad temper. Jenna rolled her eyes. "Why are you doing a PowerPoint?" Dad frowned. "What is this?" Mom's smile stalled, a sudden crack in her facade. Scott, don't be theatrical. I'm not, I said. My voice was calm, clear, strong. I'm stating facts. I turned to Dad. You asked me to carry you for once. I have. For a year. Quietly. You can call me a lot of things. Useless isn't one. Mom laughed, a brittle, sharp sound. Oh, please. You wanted to. Nobody made you. I nodded. Right. Nobody made me. I chose. But you don't get to erase it and write a different story. I took a deep breath. This was it. So here's mine. I've been paying your rent. I've covered your utilities when you forgot. I paid Jenna's tickets and her subscriptions and her nails, disguised as textbooks. I did it because I love you and because I'm stupid sometimes. I did it until I couldn't breathe. The room went the wrong kind of quiet. The TV reflected faces I barely recognized. Dad's voice got loud. Rent? What? Rent. I held his stare. Your rent. I tapped the page. The line that says rent. The one after the eviction photo. The one you covered with the new TV. He stood up so fast his chair skittered across the floor. You don't talk to me like that in my house. It's not your house if someone else pays for it, I said. My voice scared even me with how cold and certain it sounded. Aunt Lisa said, guys, maybe sit? And then stopped because Mom had started clapping. Slow, sarcastic claps that made my skin crawl. Congratulations, she said. Do you want a medal for being a son? I want boundaries, I said. So here they are. I folded the folder shut. I'm done. Mom froze. Done with what? Paying, I said. The rent, the fees, the emergencies that aren't emergencies. The trips, the nails, the ribs, and the ice, and the TVs that happen to show up when the landlord calls. Jenna scoffed. You can't just stop. Family doesn't stop. Family also doesn't humiliate and call names and treat someone like I was there just for payments, I said. So maybe we can stop doing both. Dad jabbed a finger at the door. Get out. Gladly, I said. But first. I slid one last page onto the table. I canceled the autopays that had my card on them. The internet, the phone bundle, the streaming. You've got until the end of the billing cycle to switch. I'm not cutting you off mid-show. I'm not a monster. Mom's face emptied of color. You what? I set a boundary, I said like adults do. Jenna lunged for the paper, tearing it. You're ruining everything. She meant her shows. She meant the easy life. I picked up the folder, tucked it under my arm and stood. I love you, I said. But I won't be your bank. Nobody spoke. The song on the speaker hit a bright chorus like a soundtrack to a different movie, a different life. Dad's hand shook. Mom stared at the new TV, now a symbol of her crumbling world. Jenna typed with furious thumbs, sending messages to a rapidly shrinking circle of allies. I walked to the door, opened it and stepped into the hallway. The air tasted cold, clean. For the first time in years, the word on page 1 of my notebook, boundaries, felt less like a joke and more like a door I could finally close. The first night after the confrontation, I expected panic. I expected to pace and second guess and rewrite the whole scene in my head until my lungs hurt. Instead, I slept 8 hours straight through. Mouth dry, arm numb, dreams of nothing. Morning came with a notification storm. Missed calls from Mom. Call me now. We need to talk. You're being cruel. Then a text from Dad. Man up. Then from Jenna. You're done when I say you're done. She followed it with a photo of her middle finger, like she was 13. I went to work. Swiped in. The lobby smelled like lemon cleaner and old carpet. And for once it didn't smell like obligation. By noon, Fam Jam was a courtroom. Aunts weighing in. You can't abandon your parents. Cousins I hadn't seen since 2017 sending Bible verses. Someone wrote, honor thy father and mother, like it was a credit agreement. I wrote one message. I won't discuss money in the group. If it's about rent, the answer is no. Then I muted the chat for a week. Day 2. My landlord emailed to confirm my rent processed on time. I stared at the words like they were art. On time. 2 words I hadn't seen in months. I made eggs and toast and ate them like a king. Day 3. Jenna posted a public service announcement. Don't have kids if you expect them to pay your bills. She tagged me. I didn't bite. I blocked her for 24 hours, not out of anger but out of peace. Bills started bouncing from their side. First the streaming services, then the internet. Mom called at 10 p.m., whispering like it was a hostage situation. The Wi-Fi is down. Your father is missing his show. I said, call the provider and switch the card. And she said, you think we're rich? And I said, I think you're capable. And she hung up. Day 6. Aunt Marcia sent a long Facebook message about how we all sacrifice for family. And your mother carried you for 9 months. I typed, I carried them for 12, and deleted it. I sent, hope you're well, instead. Small muscles I didn't know I had unclenched. But the requests stopped showing up with my name on them. When someone wrote Scott can. Someone else wrote, let's not. Maybe Miguel, maybe nobody. Maybe the room just shifted an inch. At work, the new supervisor who loves clipboards asked me to train a new guard. You're steady, he said. People listen. I wanted to laugh at the irony. The boy who shakes at his mother's table is steady at 3 a.m. with strangers. I said yes. I trained the kid. He was jumpy. I told him the trick isn't being tough. It's being clear. On a Sunday, I drove by my parents' place. I didn't stop. I slowed and looked. The blinds were open. Mom was at the table with papers. Dad was on his phone. Jenna wasn't there. For the first time ever, I didn't feel pulled like a magnet. I felt like a man driving his own car on his own route. A week later, Jenna texted me a photo of a pay stub. She got full-time at the cafe. Not forever, she wrote. But for now. I sent a thumbs up. She replied, I still think you're dramatic. Then after a minute, thanks for the budget template. The plant at home sprouted a new leaf. I still hear her line sometimes. How does it feel to be useless, son? It floats up when I fold shirts on Sunday night or stand under the electric buzz of the lobby lights at 2 a.m. I hear it and then I hear my own answer. It feels great. Because I just stopped being your bank. That's not revenge. That's a boundary put into a sentence. Here's what I know now. Speaking as the oldest kid, the night shift guard, the man who once ate cereal with water so someone else could watch a bigger screen. Love without limits turns into labor. Help without rules turns into habit. Quiet generosity can make people loud about your obligations. I'm not useless. I'm useful to myself, to my life. To the tenants who need a calm voice at 3 a.m. To the rookie guard who watches how I keep my shoulders down when a guy starts yelling. To the landlord who gets my rent on time now. To the plant on my table that thrives on neglect and still gets water because I decided I matter enough to water it. My parents aren't villains. They're just used to the soft landing I built under them. When the landing went away, they flailed. Then they learned how to bend their knees. Jenna will always roll her eyes. That's fine. She also picked up an extra shift and texted me a photo of her budget with little stars next to food and bus pass. That's not a miracle. It's movement. I don't owe anybody my exhaustion. I don't owe anybody my silence. I set one rule and stuck to it. No more rent. The world didn't end. The phone got quieter. The air got cleaner. The night stayed long but felt lighter. If you're listening to this and your hand shakes at the table, if you pay and pay and pay and get called names anyway, write the word on page 1 boundaries, then write the second word enough. Say it calmly. Say it once. And when the room goes quiet, don't fill it with excuses. Let the silence do some work. I'm Scott. I'm a security guard. I lock doors. I watch screens. I say, sir, I need you to step back. This year, I said it at my own family's table. They stepped back. And I finally stepped forward. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to draw a line like this with your family? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to know.